national sports entertainment. And I wanted to cover tomorrow's game while the line's where it's at. Typically, the line, if it starts moving one way, it's not going to reverse and move the other way. But there's been too many 2-point hooks this year that I thought it'd be good to get it out now. Plus the fact I wanted to cover the Giants-Bills game while it was fresh on my mind. So we got the cover here. I won't lie, early on, something seemed to signify a Giants might win. About halfway into the game, it was 3-3 when they had the DH, not Damar Hamlin, but the other guy go away in an ambulance. And they were showing 33 on the ambulance. The Bills could have dropped the 3-3, so I'm sure the Gematria guys were locked and loaded to put out a video should that have happened. But they got the cover, and again, this was just a metric play. The Giants are now, besides the Panthers, Giants are the last team, I guess, to move up from being winless. The Panthers are the last one against the spread. Again, it's a pretty simple metric, but we hit most of our picks just doing that, college and NFL included. But I thought this was interesting just because, again, I saw, DH get hurt. I honestly forget his name. I'm not trying to be something Harris. And it was interesting because I thought Damar Hamlin, Harris, all the threes. And then the first guy to score a touchdown was Deontay Hardy, another DH, 3. So we have 3 guys with the DH initials. And obviously the score was 3-3. They had the 3-3 on the bus. And the Damar Hamlin, obviously number 3, was shown when the ambulance showed up. I think the whole thing was some kind of virtue signaling. But either way, we'll take it. Hopefully the guy's all right. I think those injuries are always suspect, but the Giants finally get on the board with the cover. And I wanted to go into tomorrow's game. So we're on a little bit of a streak. We hit all of our 4 o'clock games, and we hit this primetime game. So a little 5-0 streak. Hopefully, unlike the Eagles and Niners, we can move to 6-0. And I really think we will because of a few reasons. So, off the bat, I look at this, and it does make me a little apprehensive because I wonder why are the Cowboys only giving 1.5, even in Los Angeles. They had a bad game against the Niners, and against the Cardinals also. But the Chargers have been far from perfect. They are coming off a bye week, so there's that logic, I guess. They have 2 straight victories, so there's that logic, I guess. But what I'm looking at, and I've been bringing this up for a while, and this is why I'll be playing this as a leg 3 for 4 units. It's going to be for we actually only have 2 open. I'm going to go into it in a second. It'll be for the Panthers no cover. That was a leg 2 that we lost. But I like the Cowboys. I'll take the cover. If I'm going to buy it down to a point, actually, just because I can see stupid shenanigans. But so Cowboys -1. You're going to pay a tiny bit more juice, but definitely worth it. Just so there's no chance of a win and you lose. At least at the worst, we'll push. And I just have a feeling now, again, just like my picks and just like me, I see one extreme or another, and I see no in-betweens with this game. We are either going to see a 46-9 prison pounding, or we are going to see a 31-30 nail biter. And the reason I think that is because of the narrative around Staley. The narrative around Staley is he sucks and he needs to be fired. And if you're going to bring in a new coach, and because nobody's behind this guy, and really try and get this team going and get them believable as a team that could possibly go to make a deep playoff run, you got to get rid of the coach while they're in playoff contention. And you got to fire him after a loss. So there's 1 or 2 things that could happen. They can get beat so bad he gets fired because they got destroyed. Or it could be a very close game like we saw tonight with the Giants coach. And just a couple boneheaded decisions will cost him his job. So I have 2 predictions. The first is that Brian Staley is going to be fired after this game. My second one is that Jake the Asshole is going to put out a video predicting Brian Staley is going to be fired after this game in T-minus 12 hours or so, just based off of recent history. But I do think he's going to get fired. I've been saying that for a while. When they talk about it, it's usually not an accident. And while the line's a little fishy, I still think people are probably looking at Cowboys and saying, ever since Diggs got hurt, not too good. And you got the best receiver tandem probably in the league going up against them. So I could see why the spread's not crazy. I expect miscommunications, quote, miscommunications from Herbert. I think Parsons is going to have a monster of a game. Let him shine in prime time after a few not so great performances. And I think Dak gets back to his winning ways. Chargers defense has been bad this year. Again, this is all narratives around the coach. Another reason, after the Eagles lost, it made me love the Cowboys even more. Obviously, if they had won, you could say, well, the Cowboys can't fall too far behind. But I think the whole goal is to almost make this a three-headed horse with the Cowboys, Eagles, and Niners. So I don't think the Cowboys are going to be down there below the Lions. Although I did say, not to toot my own horn because I've been wrong on a lot of things, but I did say that the Lions were going to easily take the division, and it was easy money when they were like minus 110 or plus 110. It doesn't really matter for them to make the playoffs and win the division, and for the Vikings to miss the playoffs. It just seems so obvious to me. And now I'm wondering if my Caleb theory will be true because we have the Giants without Jefferson. So they might lose a few games, and if they lose a few more games, they're going to be competing for that worst pick. So I don't think the Cardinals... the Cardinals would use it, actually. But I don't think the Cardinals are going to get the first pick. If the Bears did, I don't think they would. I think they like Fields. I could be wrong. And the Patriots, like I said, they make sense. Bill Belichick, give him Caleb. Then they can say, okay, we'll see how we can do with Caleb. But I have a feeling Vikings make sense. Reunite him with Addison. And they're moving on from Cousins. So they can have a rough year or two. Another interesting thing I noticed, because I like to go over things that just pop into my head. Bryce, pretty funny. So the guy barely lost at Alabama. And he's winless in the NFL. So I'm wondering. I don't think they'll do it. I'm wondering if the Panthers go winless this entire season. Just because, or at least if Bryce does, because he's already got hurt once. I find it really interesting. So I actually thought of the three quarterbacks, he would be the most impressive. I don't know why. Usually one will get the Heisman. Now that was Caleb, so he stayed behind. One will get the first overall pick. That was Stroud. Bryce was the overall pick. And one will have the numbers. So I guess looking at it that way, it would make some sense that Stroud would be the guy to get the... I can't even remember. I think Bryce was the first overall pick. But either way, I think it would make sense since Bryce did get the Heisman that maybe they treat Stroud a little better. I just noticed that a lot of Heismans don't go on to have great careers. You look back, RG3, he's just one of them. Jameis, there's a lot of them. Baker, I think Baker won the Heisman, that just haven't had great careers. So maybe that's why Bryce won't have a great year. But I find it interesting they haven't won a game all year. And again, he's coming from a team where he barely ever lost. So it was battle of the Alabama quarterbacks. And so far Tua is 2-0 against his fellow Alabama quarterbacks because he beat Mac. So obviously they're pushing Tua more than these other guys. So I found that interesting. But I wonder if the Panthers might go the whole year without winning. Obviously unlikely, but just considering the guy who's at quarterback, I found it interesting. And yeah, like I said, we had a really good week as far as picks. Chiefs, Broncos, I'll go into the sequences in a second, but we played the under and the cover, so we split that one 1-1. But then we got the Ravens, got the Commanders, got the Jags, Bengals. I think we finished 10-3. Got the over on the Vikings, and for what it's worth, I did say if I had to, I would have picked the Vikings in my video for that one. We missed the Dolphins cover, obviously, missed the Browns cover. And the Saints one, I said if I had to, I would have picked the Texans. Unfortunately, I didn't. We went the over instead. And like I said, then we ran the table, getting the Raiders cover, Lions cover, Rams cover, and we got them in a parlay. Jets straight up, and Giants cover. So hopefully we continue the streak. I think we will. That's basically how I pick, very hot or very cold. And yeah, I expect the Cowboys win. I personally think the -1 by a half a point. You're looking at about -120. And to me, that's more than worth it for that little bit of extra juice just because it's a fishy line, 1.5. I think anyone, and if you look at the games this week, we're due. There wasn't one game that was even close to a clip. The only one, like I said, the basketball gods intervened with the Patriots Raiders. We had the Raiders winning, of course, and then Jakey decided to steal all of our picks and just change one of them to the Patriots, and Max Crosby came in with the justice safety at the end. So we covered that one, but usually you'll see some clips we haven't. So when this moved to 1.5, it makes it really appealing for people. I think, okay, I'm going to take the 1.5 instead of the money line. So I personally think you could just play the money line too, but the -1 is fine with me. I have a lot of comfort in, at the absolute worst, I get another go at it versus getting clipped on half a point, which definitely can happen. But yeah, I think Staley's going to have a rough go at it, whether they get blown out or whether he just makes a bad decision and they lose as a result. I think they're going to plant those seeds. They're coming off a bye, so it drops to 2-3. Then he could get fired. Also, I realized the Browns moved to 3-2. So for Jim Brown, so that's interesting. Double P had pointed out how I hadn't noticed this. The Niners haven't won in Cleveland since 1984. They still haven't. So they really like to seem to push these streaks, which is why I had a tough time fading the Eagles. It was only the fact that they could drop to 5-1 for Dick Butkus, and they were talking about Mike Ditka, and obviously Butkus was this, one of the top guys on that 85 Bears defense. How Sirianni could tie that record, I didn't think he would. So some streaks are meant to be broken, and this was one of them. So I think Brock's also ended. This was so the Eagles had 12 straight wins against the Jets, and they lost. I'm pretty sure Brock was on 12 straight victories, if I'm not mistaken, when he lost here, right before his jersey number. So I guess 13 wasn't so lucky for him. But yeah, so there's going to be a lot of narratives how Purdy is without McCaffrey. I think it's beautiful because it's probably going to get people off the Niners, which is fine with me. It's very funny. They're my Super Bowl pick, and I'm 0-6 on Niners picks this year. And then, like I said, on the contrary, we're 6-0 at Lions picks. So probably going to be doing a lot of leg 3 Lions picks and leg 1 Niners picks. So, although I guess with my spread metric, I should fade myself on the Lions, huh? What are the odds I pick perfect on a spread? It'd be the same odds as, I guess, one of these teams finishing perfect against the spread, but sometimes I feel like we just have a read on certain teams. And yeah, a couple of these that I thought were going to be clips, we won easily. Jaguars, I was reluctant to take the cover. And Ravens, I was reluctant to take the cover. But we wound up doing better because we parlayed one with the Commanders, which boosted it to 3-1 odds. And as I always do, there's a lot of I told you so people out there who are just after the fact say, oh wow, this is what we did. But we put our picks out ahead of time these were all put out ahead of time, as you can see. College and NFL. I waited till both were finished. And like I said, we're like in a double-digit unit profit. So in total, the way I filter out my sequences is when a leg 3 loses, I count it as a 7-unit loss. And then, like, say, sequence 45, I don't count that as any units lost until it's a leg 3 loss, and then it would be -7. But you can do the math that way, or you can just do the daily math, which would be 4 units lost on each leg 3. And we did really well because we lost one more leg 3 than we won, which is why I'm going to have the Cowboys in here. We only have 2 open leg 3s. Miami that didn't cover, and incidentally, the other Miami didn't cover. The other Miami did cover, so Miami got us on college and the NFL. So for this Panthers cover Dolphins loss, leg 3 is going to be the Cowboys to -1 cover the Chargers. But you can see the leg 3s cancel out to, like, for example, the Chiefs Broncos, we got 4, but we lost 4 from Colorado. We got 4 for the Lions Bucks, but we lost 4 on the Saints over. What wound up coming through was the plus plays. We had Pitt winning outright, which was like about a 4-unit gain. Pitt beating Louisville, that was a big one. And then towards the end, we got some covers, but the Jets was really a nice one, almost a 3-unit net. On the day, it's more than 3 units. It's about 4 units. But for the net, because Michigan State did lose to Rutgers the day before, so of course we're going to include that in the sequence. And when you include that, it's about a $65 net. So we got 2.7 there. Then we got a bunch of 1 units, and then we got the parlays, which helped. We got 3 units, 2 units. So we finished off really strong. As I said, leg 3 is going to be Cowboys to cover minus the 1, the Chargers, and it's going to be sequence. We only have a few open leg 3s, which is great. Only 2. The UNC did not cover Miami. I'll be saving, probably like an idiot, I'm going to play the Vanderbilt under again as a leg 3 for that, just because they're 8-0 on the over. That just can't continue. Panthers cover Dolphins here is where we'll plug in Cowboys minus 1. So yeah, we had a good week, and I think, I'm not primetime games are always so 50-50. To me, there's not many convincing reasons for the Chargers to win this game. They can make it up down the road and win some games. Of course, the Cowboys can too. There's the narrative that they were talking about being Super Bowl champs, and now they're going to be 3-3. But I just think it's way more likely that they pound the Chargers or they win a close game. Again, it's going to be, I don't think it's going to be like a 10-point victory. I think it's going to be a 3-4 score victory or a 1-point victory, because it's either going to be a coach being completely outmatched or a coach losing his team the game. And I think it's going to be the end of the Staley era in Los Angeles. So I think factoring everything in, I think right now we're 11-4, I believe, with the overs, unders, and everything. And yeah, hopefully we finish 12-4. It'd be nice. It would also mean we completely split our leg 3s, as we had 6 of them. We had Vandy going under, which missed. We had Colorado covering, which did not happen. We had the Lions covering, which did happen. We had the Saints going over, which did not happen. We had the Broncos Chiefs going over under, which did happen. So if we get to the Cowboys cover, we'll be a clean 3-3. And as you can see with the system, even if they don't, with 2-4 on leg 3s, we'll still be up about 6 units on the week. So that's the reason I run this system. Yes, the Colorado game was frustrating, stuff like that. But you can see how quickly afterwards, 24 hours, well, it was about 48 hours because it was a Friday game. We not only mitigated it, but we're in the profit. And again, the Cowboys have put us in the really nice profit. And even if we don't get that one, we're still in the profit by a nice bit. So not bad to go 2-4 on leg 3s if that were to happen. But again, a split with leg 3s, which is 3-3, and we're in the profit by a lot. So you can just imagine on days, weeks where, and more often than not we are, when we go like 2-1 on leg 3s, 2-0 on leg 3s. Another good thing is I closed a lot of open sequences, so we're not going to have many leg 3s going forward. So I only do leg 3s for we lose a leg 1, we lose a leg 2. We've closed a lot of sequences. We only have 2 again remaining from this weekend going to a leg 3. And even dating back to sequence number 1 where we started, I do a recap of that every once in a while, like every single one. So it's a lot of copy and pasting, but I'll be posting probably our first 100 picks, because we're 90 or 89 or 90 sequences in. So after 100 sequences, which is hundreds of plays, obviously, I'll post exactly where we're at. Last time I posted, we were up like 20 something units, and I think we dropped a few because obviously we're not going to just go parabolic, but today helped get us right back close to 20 units, because today and yesterday. But yeah, I'll be posting that, and it's mostly just because for every time we lose a leg 3, which isn't fun, we only have to win 7 sequences, and it's just not that hard. And on a day like today, we only have to win like 4, because if you throw in the Jets win, or you throw in the 3-1 parlay, or yesterday you throw in Pittsburgh winning on a leg 2, that they're 2.5, 3 units apiece. So now we only have to win 3-4 more sequences. Mathematically, it's just the most optimal way to gain. Again, you can always do leg 4s. I could have said, you know what, Saints lost that over. Let's leg 4 the Giants cover, and we would have won. We would have been great. It would have been dandy. But had they lost, it's a 15-unit loss. Just way too much to come back from. And that's what Vegas likes. They like people to chase. So I chase just the right amount, I would say. Like I said, I do the 3-leg system, and I do stick to my metrics. Teams that are terrible against the spread. Again, that's the reason we missed the Saints over because of that, but we also got the Vikings over. The Lions was just a narrative game, to be honest. The Giants was 100% a spread pick because they hadn't won against the spread, and Cowboys Chargers is narrative as well. So another thing is, as the weeks go on, especially in college, you have so many teams that are still undefeated or winless against the spread or on the over-under, then we start really getting some milking them for some value, because I guarantee you LSU, Vanderbilt, Ohio State, all these teams that are 6-0, 7-0, 6-1, 8-0, whatever record, they're not. UMass is another one. They're 7-1 now. I think Penn State's up there. They are not all going to finish even close to this. What will happen is, actually, once they start losing, they'll go under like 3-4 straight games. It happens all the time. And usually the team that looks like the best against the spread to start a year won't even finish in the top 10. It happened with college basketball last year. Happened with college football too, actually. College football, the worst team on the over was, I think, Houston or something. They might have finished the best or the worst, but I know they lost a few in a row. And with basketball, it happened. Louisville was like 0-6 on the spread. Then they finished in like the 30-40%. UConn was like 11-0 against the spread. And then they started losing to the point where they weren't even in the top 10-15. So looking at the spreads really does help. There's a reason I use it. And even with frustrating teams like the Saints not going over again, it does wind up bearing out in the end, because between them, the Bears, the Chiefs, well, it was actually the Broncos that we picked the under on. The Panthers, Giants, they're not all going to finish, 0 to 10% on the spread or on an over-under. So that part's not as fun for some people, but it does help a lot with management. So I'll be looking at them next week. I'll be looking at the Saints. I'll be looking at, I think the Saints they play the Jags, so it's a Thursday night game. So we'll see what happens. Sometimes they're lower scoring, as you can just see, but they also like to go back and forth. So we just had a really low Thursday scoring game, and we're coming off two very low, well, one was a night game, a low scoring game here with the Giants-Bills. So especially if the Cowboys-Chargers doesn't go over, there's a really good chance this next Thursday game goes over, in which case I'll like the Saints even more. But as far as tomorrow, I just like the Cowboys too. Again, I'm going to do by the half a point, because again, I think it's going to be a 1-point game or a 30-point game with very little in between. And I'd hate to get taken by Vegas because of a half a point, because it looks too appealing. So yeah, let me know what you think. If you think the Bills injury was legit. The Jets game, I wanted to go over that again because that was an interesting game. And definitely tomorrow, if you think Staley is going to have a good game, if you think the Cowboys are going to drop the 3-3, or if you think it makes sense that Staley gets fired and they bring in some exciting new coach, maybe even a player coach. Could be someone connected to Dion, They want to start getting his guys in there, so I think that'll be interesting. So take care.